Hello everyone, welcome back to the Mask Off podcast. Today we have your hosts Aditya Jain, Devang Khetan and Raghav Maheshwari. And today we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Shalini Advani. Can we have a round of applause for that, please, guys? Thank you for
Thank
joining
you,
us,
thank
ma'am.
you, thank
Thank you so
you.
much for joining us. How are you feeling today?
Well, Sundays are actually good days because I try and keep a little bit away from the laptop too much. Otherwise, by the end of the day and by the end of the week, I'm going cross-eyed with too much screen time. I'm sure that's what's happening to all of you as well.
Everyone.
Yes.
And because, what happens is that you, of course, are working online, but then a lot of your entertainment is also online.
Mm-hmm.
And you're reading other stuff or watching things and all of that, so it's not great, but what to do, it's at least I'm grateful that we have this
I'll be honest,
communication.
this was supposed to come up later in the podcast as one of the topics that we're going to talk about. But yeah,
Sorry.
now that you mention it, it's a
The
lot of screen
translation
time.
from doing a portfolio to going to Netflix is really quick. Like within 15
Everything, the
minutes.
classes, homework, Netflix, YouTube, everything's online. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
get practicals very soon. Very soon.
yeah, yeah.
To be
I
honest,
know.
ma'am, I already have got specs this quarantine.
Well, can I ask you put eye drops into your eyes, because they say that's what you must do every day to keep your
I
eyes moist.
I think that's gonna be very necessary, ma'am, moving forward. I
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. There's this one called Tears Refresh, which you
okay,
should always be putting into your eyes,
okay.
because they keep your eyes moist.
I'm not like jokes aside. This is gonna be very necessary. I can already feel the my eyes
Yeah,
one day or the other. Really,
yeah,
yeah. So how has lockdown been, ma'am,
mm,
in
yeah,
general?
absolutely. Well, actually, lockdown has been weird, but not so bad in some strange ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I tell you a guilty secret, it is that I hate waking up early, and this is the one difficulty I always have with my job. And so, with school starting at 8:30, and with not having to do a long commute, I live quite far away from school, so normally I do a very long commute.
Okay.
So not having that has actually been very nice.
Yeah.
So that's the good bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, the strangeness of not meeting people, and I really miss school. I miss the whole sort of companionship and the intersection and seeing people in corridors and all of that aspect of it. So that has been very hard, and not meeting friends, obviously. I've tried to, try some things that I haven't done very much of before,
Mm-hmm.
to keep myself entertained. So
Like,
it's really a mix.
if I can ask.
Acrylic painting is one.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So I've been experimenting with that, which is not something I've done before. And I've always sort of tinkered around on the piano. I've tried to go back to doing a little bit of practice of that. So things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
And of
that's a
course,
positive point. Yeah, like we have been trying new things, I've been doing a lot of hobbies like that I've never I got disconnected with basically. So I guess
uh-huh.
that's a positive thing, about the lockdown, ma'am. With all
Yeah,
the
like
things.
what? Well, what are you trying?
Basically, for me, it's basically mostly been art. Just experimenting with everything that I can with all this free time that I have now. It's
Yeah.
obviously it's going to go to my portfolio and everything, but I guess that's what I like about it. AJ was telling us about something about music. So the other day,
Yeah. In
and
general,
we have been listening to his
given
videos
like
and everything.
so much time at hand, just a lot of at after one point, I was like, I think everyone got so bored that you just like do something productive because there's nothing else to do. You can't watch Netflix
Yeah.
all the time.
Yes.
No. And for you, of course, music has always been an interest area.
Yeah. So like through lockdown, I'd say I really got to explore that like in much more depth, like different genres and different styles of rap music, basically. But yeah,
Yes.
Hmm.
it's been fun.
Yeah, I've been listening to lots of music, and that's the other nice thing.
Yeah.
If you have time in the morning and late evening and all of that. Yeah.
But okay, so you said lockdown has ups and downs. But if I can ask specifically now, how has lockdown been as a director, specifically as a school
It,
director?
it's been huge hard work.
Okay.
So one is that somehow your working day never ends because you end up having meetings at all sorts of odd hours.
Mhm.
The other thing is just thinking out how to manage school and lesson timings, and even think just simple things like break timings and lesson timings. You're reinventing, and then you're reinventing what classroom should look like. We've had this whole focus on teachers looking at using different strategies.
Mhm.
And normally in the year you do teacher workshops and all about different ways of teaching and variation, but it's a whole new style, of course, when it's all online. And different people started off at different places. There's some people who are quite tech savvy. There are other teachers who are not. So working out training programs for everybody, looking at what are the sorts of tools which work well, and exploring those, doing workshops and trainings on all of those. So building up capacity.
Mhm.
So that was another very big area. And also, it's been different now in phase 2 of school. In when we locked down in March and April, there was this sense of emergency. And everybody, including all the students, all of you, had that sense that, okay, this is temporary, this is something that we have to manage. And one of the things we were really talking about is when you come back at the end of July, it's going to be standard for everybody. So, how do you retain interest in lessons? What are things like, making sure, why is it important that everybody keeps their videos on in classes? For a teacher, if you can imagine, it's really unnerving to see a whole lot of icons and not see faces and not know how whether people are getting things, or whether you're communicating properly and all of that. So lots of, from the little things to the big things, it's been a lot of planning and a lot of discussion and work. And now, of course, we've got into looking at activities, because one of the things that you're talking about is, okay, so you replicate classes online, but how do you replicate the school corridors?
True.
What do you do about that? About people from older grades interacting with kids from grade 6 and 7, or just people seeing each other around. How do you get a sense of that, or at least even in part? So, all these clubs or senior students going down into junior classes or master classes, all of these sorts of things are things we've been looking at as ways of trying to replicate some of those school corridors.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
Man,
yeah,
social
so it's been
skills have
lots of
I
been.
work.
think Pulse has been a good time because of all the discussions and debates on topics. So that's been really good for discussions. So like I think day before yesterday we had talk about Ram Mandir. So that got really heated up in our class, and everybody was so excited. Like everybody had their points and opinions. So it was really good to hear this, and it did actually to some extent remind me of my normal class where we were sitting and just talking randomly. So that was
Yeah.
some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the really important thing about school. It's not just what teachers give you, but it's that whole
Yes.
interaction and intersection, and that's what one's got to try and capture, because God knows how long this is going to carry on for.
ऐसे मत बोलो, man.
I know. So, but yeah,
But
so
man,
one has to just
any idea when the school might open up? Slightest.
see. It keeps changing. So
Mm.
in July, we were hoping it would be September.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's clear it's not September, and we are looking at sometime in October.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but even when it opens up, we're not going to be able to open up full school.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be blended, so that some people come in on some days, some people come in on other days,
Okay,
just
so
to
like
keep the population down.
11th grade on Monday, it's like some particular grades on this day, and then okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
And then look to see whether, all lessons have to be physical. There are some obviously that should be, science labs
Yeah.
are priorities. Some of the product design work, art workshops,
Mhm.
those sorts of things are priorities.
Yes.
So are you going to come in, say 11th grade or 12th grade for all lessons? Or should we keep some online? So all of those things are things we're still working out. But I
Mhm.
know it won't go back to, everybody being back at the same time for a while yet. God knows when.
That
So,
is one of
ma'am,
the things
what
we
do you
had to
think?
ask. Like, okay, you go on. Sorry.
Hmm.
What do you think, ma'am? Will the parents really send their children to school even after the school reopens in October?
So I was talking to some parents and I asked them, just for feedback, that how do you feel? A majority of the parents at that point I spoke to, but they were, no, they were across the board, not just primary, said we would not feel safe yet.
That's
Yeah.
what. Yeah.
So some people said maybe we'll think about it after Diwali. Some people said, oh, not till January. A few parents
Yeah.
said not till the next academic year. So, people are going to have different
Mm.
views. And as a school, we are going to have to deal with that and see how we are going to manage that. You can't force people back into school.
Yeah, obviously.
Or I don't want to do that. I want to have people back when they feel comfortable with being back. So then we'll
Yes.
have to figure out how to run school with some people in school and some people out of school.
Yeah,
I don't know. We're all inventing. I mean, the whole world is inventing this.
definitely. Yes.
Nobody knows anything. In some
That like,
countries, they're mandating.
yeah.
Like, Trump wants to mandate schools open, and in England, Boris Johnson has done that.
Mm.
That and there you have laws which says that once school is open, you have to attend. Uh, in India, we're not there yet. Let's see what line the government takes.
But like, ma'am, in other countries and other continents, I feel the situation is getting better. However, that is not the same for India, because in India we see like the rise in cases about say 70,000, 69,000 every day.
Yeah.
So talking about yesterday in India, there were around 2,000 deaths.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
disheartening.
Good
So
for
that's
us.
why.
I mean, our death rate is still one of the lowest globally.
Mm-hmm.
As
Uh,
per percentage of people who are getting it, as per percentage of the population. Of course, these are reported. We're not 100% sure of the data, but at least as per reported, death rates are somewhat lower.
that's one.
But this is a very debilitating disease. I mean, we didn't start off thinking at the beginning, everybody said, oh, it's like a serious flu kind of thing. Now we know that it has long term
Yeah.
damage in cases. The other thing in India is that you have many more joint families. You have older people living in the house.
Yeah, so I'm same. Like, I've
So,
got.
yeah. So, I have my 86-year-old mother living with me as an
Yeah.
example.
Holds true for a lot of people.
So, yeah, so that's true for a lot of people. So, it's not just a question of that person getting it. If they're young and, they'll get over it. But the fact that they're carriers to people who are a lot more vulnerable, we have to take that into account.
Yeah. But that's the thing, ma'am. Like, even though we were actually talking about this before you came into the podcast. So, like, even though school might open up, let's say even in October or the next year, even then, I don't think it's gonna be the same again. Even then, I'm
Yes,
pretty sure there's gonna be so much changed. But like, what exactly will you guys change? Like, if we come back to school, what exactly will be different for us?
PE, we
PE.
can't do team sports. How can we do team sports? Yeah, I know. That's why I started with that because I knew it would hit you.
yes,
But truth, I mean, how can you do soccer or basketball? You
Yeah.
can do tennis,
Mm.
um, and you can do drills, and you can do individual sports. Yes, I'm seeing your face.
What
Uh,
about swimming, ma'am?
well, it depends how many people you have in the pool. You
Mm.
can't have the whole grade or a whole lot of people. You still have that distancing aspect, and the yeah. So swimming, and because it's an enclosed underground pool,
Exactly. Like
If not
enclosed spaces.
outdoors,
Yeah.
that's going to be another danger. So
Any
that's one.
other?
Lunch break is going to be another.
How
Okay.
lunch break, ma'am?
Think about that.
Don't
Yeah.
take
Meaning
lunch
you
break.
have to have you can't all sort of be piling onto each other like you do, and you know
Yeah,
you
just
have
the,
to do it
eventually,
with physical
like what
distancing.
we were doing before. Yeah, we can't definitely do that.
Uh,
Like
Yeah,
if you're looking from the first floor and like looking down, you're like piled upon each other. Everyone's like standing very close to it, but that can't be the situation anymore.
But ma'am, hands
yeah,
down, the most popular opinion, I'm pretty sure everyone will agree with this. Lunch was the best time of the entire day.
I
Yeah.
know. Lunch
I
followed
agree.
by PE is no
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same.
yeah. So those are going to be different.
Oh,
So we'll have to just figure out for a while, finding different ways of having fun, what to do.
yeah. It's just we can't do it. We can crib about it, but like it is necessary at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, it's really necessary. And I mean, my own other thought is that I hope people will be sensible. Do you think people will be sensible about following rules and distancing and all of that? What do you
Not
say?
Personally
everyone,
talking,
ma'am. Not everyone.
Personally, ma'am,
no, ma'am. Because
it
seeing our
actually
school,
depends from person to person, ma'am. I think in this sense,
Not
like,
everyone, but
and
I
the
think that holds true for every place on the world. Like you can't
yeah,
expect everyone to be sensible
yeah, so
all the time.
because
Yeah,
I've come across
some
people who have
people,
been like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
no, say, sorry.
So basically, like I've come across people who have been really paranoid. Like I know someone who's been so paranoid that she's even allowing a dad or like mom to go out, like just like within floors, like switch within floors to like meet her or meet his friends. So everyone's in a lockdown and nobody has gone out of the house for like I guess 5 6 months.
Yeah,
So I guess and we have people like that in our grade as well. So that's definitely going to be like, but
Exactly.
that's a
But now,
very short amount of
but
time.
like that, my like I have like most of the family members at my place are above 60, 65. So the thing is that I have to be really careful. So I have not been going out, but talking about other people and their measures, man, we see people going out every day, meeting their friends, and places, crowded places, public places like say restaurants and other places. They're going, mom, they're meeting each other.
yeah, yeah,
So in
yeah,
these
that's it.
times, if they're not taking any measures, it's really
Hmm.
hard for them to even follow the school rules. Like they're gonna obviously meet their friends, shake hands, give them a hug, I feel. So it'll be really tough to control this
Yeah,
situation.
yeah. I was reading an article about that one of the biggest sort of challenges or damages of COVID, in addition to the economy and those sorts of things and people's jobs and businesses, all of that, is that it is robbing us of being human.
hmm
Because being human is a lot about just the connect and the hugging people and the closeness of it.
that hits deep,
And
ma'am.
yeah,
That is deep.
yeah. So, so we let's see how long this lasts. I mean,
Yeah, but that's the thing, ma'am. So like, what I'm gonna say next, I'm gonna propose an idea. All right, it's basically these are one of my 3 a.m. ideas because we have so much time, and this is all I can think of at the moment. So don't take this too seriously. But obviously, because
okay.
nothing's gonna be changed, right? Nothing's gonna be the same. Sorry, nothing's gonna be the same again in terms of education and everything. So, as an educator, do you think that there can be such a curriculum design that we don't actually need to have a physical school, that everything can be done technologically? And what I mean by that is, so let's say, like after the lockdown's over, obviously, let's say you like the school hires a bus, all right, a big bus, let's say 15 students, they take a road trip out to London, all right, like 15 18 months, like any parents who are okay with that, they take a road trip out to London, and you guys can set, like, I don't know, stops in between wherever you want to stop, and like have classes and have different activities, so that way you can have, you can travel, and then at the same time, just how we've been doing virtually, you can study as well. So there's no compromise there.
But I don't think that'll be really cost effective.
Well, let me tell you, there's already a school that does a version of this
Oh, really?
and has been doing this for decades. So of their year, they spend one semester on a boat, on a ship. And I can't remember the name of the school, but it's an American school. So one semester on ship, and they sail and they dock at various places,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll do history through that place. Can you imagine, docking in Italy and doing ancient
Yeah.
Italy, Greece, and then doing the ancient world, and then going somewhere else, and
Yeah.
they do maths, physics, everything based on what they're seeing plus time on the ship.
Yeah.
So they one semester of the year, half the year is that. So I think you can have a really vibrant education of that kind if you actually move school.
Yeah.
So that is one kind of thing. It's still a physical school in that model.
Yes.
It's just a moving physical
It's a
school.
moving physical school.
Yeah. The other model is, which is what you're saying, which is perhaps online mostly.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that in some ways that is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think your children will see school. I don't think will see school in the same way that you are seeing it.
Definitely.
And see, there are some advantages. Well, we know that people are already learning more and more online, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So many qualifications and certifications and all are online. And as far as the learning of subject matter goes, that's actually a very good model, because you should be able to do something from here and something from there and get certifications for all of those and put those together and then get your, IB diploma
Mm-hmm.
equivalent. Uh, and, you do it in your own time and you spend as much time as you want. And when you're ready, when you've done all those qualifications, you're qualified.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a strength to that model.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is the sense of community and that engagement, which can't be replicated. School is, and when we were starting Pathways, this was always my philosophy
Mm-hmm.
about the school. Is I always thought that, where do young people learn best? They learn, in their earliest learnings are in the family. So can you replicate, at least in part, a sense of family in school rather than a sense of an institution? And I know that in the early years, we did that a lot. Now, as the school's grown, we've had to bring in somewhat more institutional rules
Yeah.
and more institutional systems, but we still try and keep that very personalized family sense.
Yes.
And I think that's important for learning. And if you moved it all online or in a different way, you'd lose that. And that would be terrible.
Ma'am, now that you point out, I think I can notice that because I remember in third grade, I don't know if this happens anymore, but in third grade, I remember we used to sit on the carpets and like everyone was lying in unorthodox positions. There's no rules. You're just lying down and reading Roald Roald Dahl books together with
Yeah. So we still do that.
with
And of
cushions
course,
and
that's for
everything.
a good reason, because when you're really little kids, you don't want to be confined onto a table and
Yeah.
chair. You should have a little bit more flexibility,
Yeah,
like you
that
do at
was
home.
amazing though.
Yeah,
That was an amazing type of learning.
yeah, yeah. So school, I feel, will always be important
Yes.
as a body, as a group. So we have to find ways of. I feel that one always has to look at ways of individualizing, giving flexibility to individual people. I mean, just looking at the three of you here, you may all be very good friends, but what each of you is really passionate about is different.
Yes.
And as far as possible, schools should give space to different individuals for their interests. And so, if one can bring more and more flexibility into schools, that's a good thing to do too. So, yeah, so it's going to change. I mean, some of the changes for the future, I think, are going to actually be quite good.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's the way I think we've all seen this lockdown as, or we've tried to at least. There's obviously it sucks, but there's always a silver lining. So as you
Yep.
said, right? Because like
I
let's
think
say,
rather, sorry.
no, go on. It's
No,
fine.
I think rather than like seeing the silver lining, what we have done more is that, like as you said before, we have rather than get like so like bored or pissed at like this lockdown, that we have actually transacted from like the not doing anything to like doing so much of it that we have actually found the good in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, and I just want to spend a minute talking about, as an educator,
Mhm.
I've always felt that there is a huge value in this thing called boredom. And your generation generally has had very little time for boredom,
Mhm.
because for all of you, there's actually a lot that you can do
Mhm.
online. There's afternoon classes, there's lots of things like that. My generation, when I was growing up, there was much less.
Yeah.
So there was a lot more time for boredom. And I think that sometimes that can be quite creative. You find things to do that you would never imagine that you want to do,
Mhm.
but just out of sheer desperation, you do them.
Yeah.
And in the lockdown time, you've actually had to experience that boredom. I often say to parents that just don't, fill up kids' time all the time. Let them be bored. It's really good for them. So, yeah. So, and you discover new things about yourself.
That's true. Like exactly,
Definitely.
it has helped so much in terms of just finding out a lot of stuff about myself, and I'm sure it holds true for everyone. Because when you really spend time
Definitely.
alone, it has a negative side to it, because you feel, I guess, sometimes you go down and you need someone to talk to, which is true for everyone. But then you really get to explore like what you like, what you want to do, like what brings you happiness and stuff. It's nice. It is
Hmm.
silver lining, definitely.
I guess in
Um,
terms of the conversation with friends, also I've seen myself grow. Like what we used to talk about once, of like before the lockdown, and what we talk about now are like two different worlds altogether. Like
Yes.
the kind of seriousness that we have in a conversation is something like that I've never actually had like experienced before out of this.
that's really interesting. Okay. That's a
So
very
what do you
interesting
think?
thought.
Okay, I think we'll all answer this question together one by one, but I'll start with you. What do you think is the biggest lesson that the lockdown has taught you?
That's a good, serious question. Biggest lesson, one is, I think, of impermanence,
Mm-hmm.
that you can't take things for granted.
Yes.
That, just things change, and one has always theoretically known that.
Mm-hmm.
And, people tell you, oh, you should live each day like it's your last, live each day fully, all of those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And you know that, but it's never bitten home in the same kind of way.
Now you know what it means.
Uh,
Now we know
Now
what
you
it
know
means.
what it means, and that whole impermanence of it is uh, been a shock.
Yes.
But the other is the opposite also, is the resilience.
Mm-hmm.
If you told me 6, 8 months ago that the whole world is going to be locked up and is not going to be in total depression, is going to manage and find ways of doing things, I would have never believed it.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
that has also been interesting to see.
Yes.
That somewhere people have remained cheerful. Although I want to come back after this and ask you a little bit about uh, mental health issues. I'm really
Mhm.
curious about your sense of what people are feeling like.
Okay.
But yeah, for me, there is this aspect of resilience has also been interesting.
Yes. I think that's true. That is true. I think that's what I was telling you before. Like, you get to explore yourself. That is why, because if I break it through like a timeline, like when the lockdown started, we were like, oh, kya ho raha hai ye? Kya hai ye? मुझे नहीं रहना है इधर, घर पे नहीं रहना मुझे. Right? It was like an energetic, angry tone we had. And then it grew into a bit of, we accepted that this is our fate for the next coming months. And then we all grew very sad. I was very sad my friends were sad. We were very sad at that time because we weren't talking to each other. This was very new because like even like phone conversations, you can't do that every day or every night because after one
Because
point
there's
it gets,
nothing to talk about. Like,
yeah,
what do we talk about?
gets
Because I
so
think that
monotonous.
became a problem for all.
Yeah, it
Like,
gets so
I'm calling
monotonous.
AJ up, like, what did you do yesterday? I sat at home, that's what I did.
So,
Yeah.
That became like, a really big problem back then. That's
so
a really
that
Mm.
big.
grew into sadness for a bit, but I think after a while, like at least now, g- given we have so much time, it's helped me, and I'm sure for everyone else, like for at least I can speak for myself, it has helped me explore really what makes me happy, right? Like different things that I really enjoy doing and how I can stay happy throughout in like such sad times to say it's been that's the thing. It's been amazing that way in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been like a very big growth for everyone.
Yeah.
Definitely. I
Yeah.
do agree. So, Raghav,
So
what has been your biggest learning out of lockdown?
I guess my biggest learning out of the lockdown is like you need to always have gratitude. You need to be thankful for things because you never know how things change.
Exactly.
Because uh, like I used to obviously take school for granted, like everybody I guess, because when you were not in the mood, you used to you like I don't want to go to school today. I'm very lazy. You used to skip school, but now after this lockdown period, I won't miss even a single day, whether it be anything.
I'm not missing school
mm.
I
again.
wouldn't. I wouldn't. And thinking about camps, ma'am, I have a follow-up question with this. What do you think if the situation gets better? Would you want that the grade 12 should go for their last camps because we haven't had camps for the last 2 years?
Ma'am,
I
if you say
know you
no,
really
I'm just gonna give you a
had a
heads up.
bad luck.
If you say no, you're going down as the biggest villain in Pathways history. That's just a heads up. I'm not. That's not my thoughts.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Ma'am, like camps is like a must, ma'am. Even like talking about camps, if you just do it after even a session ends, like even after May 2021, if the situation gets better, we can just have a small camp session, like when we all go together, the entire grade with all the teachers one last time. Because ma'am, how fun it is, like
I
going out with the teachers, talking to them, hearing their stories. Especially I remember my last camp, which was in grade 10. Like we were hearing stories from so many other teachers, ma'am, about their experiences. It was so fun. Like
Yeah.
It's
even
amazing.
our founders this year was so good, ma'am. Like we have to have the founders. Like some people, we had actually put a poll on Instagram and asked like, what questions should we ask you? So people's question came: is there going to be online founders? Is founders happening? What is the thing like? Are camps going to happen? When is the school going to reopen? Things
Yeah,
like these, ma'am.
believe in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd really like you to have all of this, but who knows? Yeah.
Choose your words carefully, ma'am. I don't want you to
Yeah.
go down as an antagonist in this story.
Yeah. Yeah. That's you see, I'm hedging it. I said, who knows? Please notice. I'm very careful.
But yes,
Oh,
that's the sad thing, though.
It is
yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the graduated class, grade 12, who didn't have a graduation,
Yeah,
uh,
that was
for
another
them, that
question.
is really hard.
That was
Definitely.
another question for you. Like, one of the grade 12 students asked if they are going to have a graduation or not.
So at the moment, of course, you're not even allowed to have a gathering. So it's
Yeah.
totally out of our hands. And by the time the that is allowed, let's see how many of them are here. What we're looking at and hoping for is somewhere just before school closes in December. Hopefully, things will be better. Or you can do it outdoors or something like that. I'd really hope that everybody comes back, or is everybody still here? Because that's what we're looking at, is doing graduation then.
That you go to our graders. There's
Yeah.
shadow of hope.
But what about prom? So do you think that prom can happen?
करवा
Prom with
लेती
all that
करवा
dance and
लेती 2 दिन
and all of that.
Uh,
Uh,
Teachers Day, ma'am. This was the last Teachers Day. I was really looking forward to this.
I
Like
know.
We can't dance on stage again.
I think now we have started to count down like the last things that we'll do this year. So the first thing that came up was Teachers' Day. Yeah, now come to think
Yeah.
of it, that's actually something.
Actually, your whole sense of the time and the impact will be so different to somebody who's say in grade 6. For them it's like, theek hai, this is 1 year is gone down the tube, but next year it'll be different. But for
every
anybody in
year,
grade
every day
12, it's
counts.
a big thing, yeah.
Very big.
Every day counts, man.
Hmm.
I
Every day.
actually I didn't even think about that. Actually, I didn't come to think of that. Like the last Teachers' Day, it's actually something.
Yes, ma'am. Listen, like how it happens, grade 10 and like all other grades, they can wear everything, but how grade 12 has to come in formals for Teachers' Day, and how it
Yeah,
used to like
The
really
funny
yeah,
part.
interesting.
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's not only the
yeah.
good things, man. Like I've also been thinking about like all the bad things that happen throughout the school life. Obviously, like Alex are calling me to his office multiple times, which
Huh.
back then was scary. I almost lost my breath every time. But looking back, I'd want to go to his office again. No doubt.
You're missing being in trouble with Alex.
Yes, definitely, ma'am.
That's real desperation then. Then you're really missing school if you're missing that.
Like when teachers find you, Osman sir finds you roaming around in the corridors. He's like, "Which class are you in? Where are you?" You miss these things. You miss these things.
Yeah, and I know, Raghav, that happened to you quite a few times.
Yeah.
I know this. I
Yes,
know
yes,
this about each of you.
Yes, ma'am. I was
Yeah.
going, like
I
last
think
time
the
I was
last
going
time we
through
were
my
in
mind.
Alex's room was yeah.
Yeah, it was like
So
the most
basically, the
visited
last
place.
time we were in Alex's room was during our Corona prank in the.
yeah. All three of
I
us
don't
were
know
there.
if you should have brought that up.
What happened? I don't know about this.
Oh no, ma'am. This is
What
okay.
is your corona
Let's
prank?
give you some gossip. We'll
So
give you some gossip, ma'am. Student gossip. So
yeah.
this,
So let me tell you, it's
yeah.
really fun though.
Okay, you go on. Yeah,
Yeah.
you tell us.
What happened was when there was a fear of this COVID-19 situation during March, the starting of March. So what happened was like everybody was panicking because of this COVID-19 situation, and a couple of us, like we all three were there, all three of us were there. So what we did was we went to the infirmary, we started coughing really loud, fake coughing, and apparently we were asking for masks, we were asking for sanitizers, we were asking, can we have tag because of COVID-19? Can we sleep because we're tired because of COVID-19? And apparently the nurse called Mr. Alex, and we were
That was
called to
history.
the office, and
That was
we all
history.
had, yeah, we all had quite a time there then.
I would just say, ma'am, please. I have grown since that time, but
Yeah. This genuine lockdown and having to be away from classes has matured you into
yes,
soberness.
definitely.
That'll be the day. Yeah.
But I miss doing that prank though. I miss that prank.
Yeah.
Oh, but man, that brings me to another point. So let's say we do some mischief during online classes. Now, obviously, teachers have found a way that you can write mails to our parents, and mark as absent on Wiseman. But other than that, what can be some actual repercussions for like online detention?
No, I mean, I never thought I'd say this, but the biggest punishment actually is to kick you out of class for a longer time.
I was
Suspension
I was pulled out of
online.
classes for a week.
Yeah, just online suspension. What else to do? We can't have you sitting in the principal's office, like you used to do in Mrs. Sandeer's office
Or
in
maybe
school
yeah, you can add us to
suspension.
the meeting that you are in, or like for a punishment, like you meeting that you're already in, you can add us to that. That would be a good punishment, I think.
To what?
Like a
Add you?
meeting you or Miss Sandhir or Mr. Alex are already in, you can just
Huh.
add us there, like for a punishment, and then you have to sit there like in your meetings, like we can't do anything there.
Yeah, you guys have to
Yeah,
keep.
it's like during the exam time. No, exam.net equivalent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just under supervision
There was this
over
meme
there.
going around before like this became so serious. There was this meme going around like, let's say you do something mischievous in the classroom. So what's the teacher gonna say? Go back to your home, go back to your class, go back to your house. So, that was so funny.
Yeah. No, this is true. There are conferences and seminars on this question
Yeah.
amongst teachers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
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 So,
Ma'am,
what,
I
what,
guess
what are some like things that you've come up with as of now?
No, so it is mostly this that actually with online school, that is even for young people created that sense of community to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
And people want to be together. And therefore, if they're not allowed to be together as part of class, um, but that really only works with senior students.
Mm-hmm.
For younger kids, you have to find other things,
Yeah.
which is, yeah.
I
But
mean, I
But the
still remember the first online class, which was barrier class, when students found a way to mute the teachers or kick them out or kick the other students out. So, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
all the classes for a week went on with, students getting kicked out and joining the class back
that
in.
was a funny time.
And
Yes,
that's all.
yeah, yeah, I know. We had to find ways of trying to plug that then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So
honestly,
Mm.
ma'am, like even though everyone says that school has been like, because obviously you can't compare online teaching to regular teaching under no circumstances, but I'd still say like the school has really managed to still do a really good job, if I'm being honest, because
yes,
Mm.
ma'am.
throughout this, like we have even the students and the teachers, everyone like being so particular about everything, like actually thinking about every detail, and then hosting these classes for us. It's been actually very heartwarming, ma'am, that you guys are actually putting
Yeah,
this much effort for us. So thank you so much, ma'am.
that's nice to hear. Thank you.
It's like, yeah, we all, obviously we crib about it कि ये क्या हो रहा है, बेकार है ये सब, but at the end of the day it's actually really nice, ma'am,
Yeah,
because
Do
Yes,
you
ma'am.
think that there are people who really are struggling with mental health issues, with depression and things like that?
oh
Ma'am,
yes,
we
so we
actually don't
actually,
know, ma'am.
yeah, so in the podcast we had with Miss Yaman, she actually told us
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
the number of people coming to her have actually risen. It's gone up
Yeah,
because
yeah,
She basically meant that, like, where the problems at home, like that's like the mental state there is actually going to get worse, obviously.
yes.
So,
yeah,
like, those students that are definitely approaching a mom.
Like
yeah,
for students whom school was escape from their house to have fun and stuff.
yeah.
For them, I guess, ma'am, maybe like
Yes.
this time is a bit hard because they might not feel like they might feel that they want to go to school, they're not belonging at home. So things
As you
like
said, like
these.
a lot of conflicts could happen at houses and just being alone, maybe. So it's been hard for everyone.
I
Yeah.
agree, ma'am.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of those. I was wondering if you knew or people you knew in your experience whether you have felt that, because obviously that has come up to the school in
Hmm.
different ways. And in some senses, of course, everybody here, there are certain things at least you can take for granted,
Yeah.
which is that you're not going to lose your home or that you are able to access online classes. I mean,
Mhm.
these are big issues for other people in this country,
Yes.
which at least over here people don't have.
But ma'am, what about you and like the other teachers in regard of mental health? Have you been struggling alone at home?
No, I have to say not too much.
Okay.
Not too much. I mean, there are times when you just feel fed up. You want to go off and meet up with friends. Of course,
Yeah.
there are those times which are
Mm.
really irritating. But by and large, no, I have not. And I think that's true of most teachers.
Okay.
I think everybody among the teachers also misses school.
Hmm.
But like you've been talking about, have found new things or found interesting
Yeah.
things to do or,
Yes.
found a new rhythm
Hmm.
in life. So, so yeah, so generally it's been okay for teachers as
That's
well.
nice to hear. I'd say that's really nice.
Yeah.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I guess yeah, everyone has those times. But like yes, it's silver lining. Silver lining. Hail the
Yeah,
silver
yeah, yeah,
lining.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But
So,
ma'am, we were thinking, so like because
mm,
we actually initially thought of doing this podcast with Alexa, but that didn't go down too well. Uh, no, not blaming anyone, but that didn't go on too well. No, I'm not saying anything, specifically to anyone, but anyways, moving on. That happened.
I'm not going down this road.
Yes, let's not go there. But
You only started it, AJ.
yeah,
I know.
it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. Please settle down. But we were planning on having him, and we actually talked to a lot of students in terms of like getting perspectives for like different students as to how they're actually feeling about online school. So we talked about, we actually put out polls and like questions on Instagram and other social media platforms to like ask like different disadvantages and advantages of online school. And like, to my surprise, a lot of them actually came up with like a lot of valuable things to say. So like they talked about like less commute time, and they talked about like how technology is like it's made us more versatile, as to say, because now we're like, because we have this experience of studying online and offline. I guess people said that we have this new experience with us that we can take into like life further, like how hard this was. So yeah, there has been that. People have been like very open-minded about it, I think.
Hmm. I'm I I mean, this is something I just thought about, but I wonder whether it has changed the nature of communication. So I was just thinking, now imagine the three of you were talking to me,
Mhm.
right? In school, in my office.
Yes.
My sense is that it's somewhere easier to do online here. I mean, the
No,
nature of I'm not sure. So this is just a thesis.
uh,
You tell me how you feel. Do you think that if you were talking to me physically face to face, it would be the same? Would it be less comfortable? Would it be more comfortable? What do
I
you feel?
mean, would be more
I
scared.
guess the
Like meeting you in person in the corridor is a bit scary. Heads up, ma'am. But yeah,
Yeah.
other than that, I'm not sure. I think in general, ma'am, there's ups and downs, but like I prefer face-to-face conversations any day with anyone, any day over
yes,
I
I
guess
think
it's
of
also the form of communication that you are having. Like this is a podcast, this is like this general conversation. So you are mixing everything up. But like let's say if you're having an interview, definitely I would like to have that face to face because that's more serious and I like that's the whole intention behind it. So I
yeah.
guess the
I see,
intention behind the conversation and the type of conversation it is that like that what's made the difference there.
I see, ma'am, when
Yeah,
you people
sure.
come to school. Sorry. Say, ma'am.
No, just taking up from your point, Devang, that you were just saying, of course, in an interview, one of the things that I've had to do is to constantly interview new teachers
Mm-hmm.
and make a decision and appoint new people based on an online interview, which is really hard to do.
Yes.
So interviews, obviously, you want a face to face, a physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm asking is that we are having a chat,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
over here. Do you feel that it would be the same if we were physically together?
No, that would be much better, ma'am.
Yes, that will be much better,
Because
ma'am.
I guess, ma'am,
It would
like,
be, yeah.
yeah, obviously, Zoom specifically has eliminated a lot of the factors, like the differences we had between offline and online, because, like, facial expressions and body language, but still, there's still that certain warmth, I feel like, when you're talking to someone in person,
Yeah, absolutely.
which you can
Absolutely.
never, you can never overcome
Yeah.
that online.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true.
And that has been the case with like every, like if I talk about like subject specific thing here, so like for example, I study film, right? I have film as a subject. So I'd say in terms of film there has been very little differences, because like I actually prefer online film in some aspects to like in school, because film is a lot about theory, and like when especially the learning part, it's a lot about theory which is possible online. So I'd say that is better than the actual school in film. But like at the same time, even for film, you have to go outside and shoot, and then all the shots from different places and meeting like different people for like, let's say one person's doing cinematography, one person's doing editing, so they all have to meet in person. Sometimes to like actually work out the specifics of a film, which cannot happen
Hmm.
now. So
Yeah,
there's obviously
yeah,
ups and downs, but I'd say I wish this never happened. This
yeah,
shouldn't have happened.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
what,
Yeah. So,
But what do you think, ma'am? Is this better or would in person be
Yeah.
better?
Oh, in
Ma'am,
person, anytime, of
so, ma'am,
course.
like, I would like to add a point here. How everybody used to come to school, you used to have a bath, they used to look fresh. However, ma'am, in online classes, people just wake up, they appear in school. During form time, all the cameras are off. Teachers are asking them switch on their cameras. When they switch on the cameras, the lights are off. They know that they're in the bed. So it's a really different approach, I guess. So the productivity out of online classes is not that great. You
Yeah.
know, for some subjects, specifically maths, ma'am, specifically maths, I'd say personal things. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Maths is particularly hard to
You
do
can't study
online. I
maths
know.
online. I don't
yes,
think
ma'am,
you can.
especially me and AJ in HL, how we started off, ma'am, it's really tough.
Mm,
Really tough.
mm. Yeah, I know. No, that's a very big concern for us also, particularly maths,
That's
particularly physics HL. You know, there are a few of these subjects which are
Yes.
And,
harder.
ma'am, HL is also really tough, but how my teacher really tackles all those problems and he has the best solutions, ma'am. Like, he's really tech savvy.
Yeah, yeah. Does your maths teacher do online digital board
That,
usage?
but you know, he's just started. We have actually the new maths teacher with us.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about all of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
For
We're
really
not going
formal
down any
conversation.
personal roads over
Yeah,
here.
this is
This.
a
Yeah,
formal
no, but like
conversation.
it's the thing, ma'am. Obviously, we can't blame anyone, but like it's still good to see that people
It's
are still
hard. Yeah.
trying. Yes, they're still.
Yeah, for adults as much as for everybody else, there's just new ways and different people are
Yeah.
tackling it in different ways and struggling with that. So yeah, and everybody's learning all the time.
But ma'am,
So
like, I want to ask, like, how has your role of the as a director specifically, right? Because you plan a lot of things. You talk, as you said, you take interviews of teachers, and then you obviously plan a lot of the events that happen in school. Isn't hasn't that gone down a bit compared to actual school, or is it actually
uh,
gone up?
I think it's gone up. It's actually gone up just because there's so much which you can't take for granted. There are other things that now, 10 years into school, you knew that, okay, this will be like last year and it'll go ahead in a particular way. Like the awards, like
Hmm.
the award ceremony.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
amount of time we had to think to what should it look like? What should it flow like? All of those sorts of things that, okay, so you'll do your special awards in a central one and then people will go into grade level. All of those things need thinking about and
Yeah.
discussion and all of that. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is just, like with teachers or like with the head of department, you can meet in the corridor and have a 4-minute conversation. How's this going? Do you
Mm.
want to look at that or something like that? Now you have to set up a Zoom call
Yeah.
because you have to go on creating those connections and keeping an eye on how things are working or checking in on other things or supporting certain things, but that has to be much more deliberate, so it takes more time. It's not something you can do casually
Yes.
in a 5-minute chat. So I think it's a lot of it has gone up.
Hmm.
And this whole thing, a school is a community, and how do you keep a community together as a community when you're online? That takes a lot of work.
Yes.
So
Mm.
yeah.
Any questions you have for us, ma'am? I think we're out
No,
of.
I think I've been asking alongside
Yeah.
as we've gone on. So it's been really fun to chat to you, really.
Thank you,
thank
ma'am.
you so much, ma'am.
But
Likewise,
yeah,
likewise.
Unfortunately, we are missing a member today. He had some important thing to do.
yeah, we had Agrim with
But
us as well for the podcast, but he's not
Who
able.
had something?
Agrim as
Agrim.
Agrim,
well.
ma'am.
So he was
Okay,
with us in this. He's been with us for all the other podcasts, but he's busy today.
okay.
That's good.
All
But
right. Yeah.
yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Guess we'll end it there. If that,
Yes. Okay. Great.
okay,
Thank
Thank you so
you
much.
thank
for
you so
setting
much,
this up.
ma'am, for joining us
Thank you
today.
so much.
It was
Okay.
lovely because it
Yeah.
has helped us, see the actual reality for the teachers as well, for the students. I think it's helped us. I think it's both ways. It's gone both ways. I think you've gained more insight as to how
Yeah.
students are feeling, and we've definitely gained insight on how teachers are feeling. So
Yeah.
I guess,
No.
yeah, that's it for this episode of the Mask Off podcast. Thank you to all the viewers watching right now. Please make sure to subscribe and like if you could. That'd be great. Thank you, Dr. Advani, for joining us. And I guess we'll see you guys next time. Stay home, stay safe. Peace out.
Bye.